Well, hello and welcome to another edition of Talk Leadership with Cedrick. I'm so excited to be here with you today. Talk Leadership with Cedrick is where we focus on leadership, personal growth with business leaders, educators, and local thought leaders. You know, our goal is to introduce our audience to leaders who are making an impact with innovative ideas. You know, everybody needs a little TLC. Now, you know, our guiding leadership principle is the law of contribution, which says growing yourself enables you to grow others. So you can't give what you don't have. So first, you must grow yourself in order to grow others. So we believe that outstanding leaders like yourself will help us help others. So tonight, we have another dynamic leader with us. Now, you know, every week I like to do a proper introduction of my guest. So let me do a proper introduction of our special guest tonight. And our guest tonight is Miss Amber Webb. Now, Amber is passionate about philanthropy, brand building, and delivering return on marketing. The vision of her career is having a greater impact on the world. Now, that's just wonderful, right? Amber is the vice president of development for the nonprofit organization, the Metropolitan Planning Council, or MPC, in Chicago. MPC is a nonpartisan policy change agent playing a pivotal role in stepping up analysis to guide response to COVID-19. Now, that's an awesome mission every day, all day, and twice on Sunday, and crafting policy interventions that will result in a better, bolder, more equitable future for everyone. See, Amber joined MPC with 2 decades of experience in philanthropy, for-profit marketing, corporate business development leadership roles with Fortune 500 healthcare companies. And we worked together at Abbott many years ago. Well, she's young, so it was only a couple of years ago. She is an alumnus of both Northwestern University and Northwestern Kellogg. Amber was recently honored to be one of 31 leaders selected to be a fellow in the Allstate Foundation nonprofit executive leadership program in collaboration with Northwestern Kellogg's Nonprofit Center. She also was a panel speaker at the Illinois Diversity Council's annual Illinois Women's Conference, a recent recipient of the 2019 Power 50 Award, and completed her Northwestern Kellogg Executive Scholar Certificate in Nonprofit Management. Amber is a proud Chicago native who grew up on the South Side in Hyde Park. South Side. Yes. All right. So just had to get that in there. Sorry about that. So let's welcome Ms. Amber Webb to the show.
Thank you so much, Cedrick, for having me this evening.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to, one, reconnect with you, and two, to have you on the show tonight. So let's just dive right into the questions and have a good conversation. So, you know, tell our listeners about your journey to leadership and how did you get to where you are today?
Well, thank you for that question, Cedrick. My journey actually started on the first half of my career on the corporate side, and now the back half on the nonprofit side. You know, I have a passion for business, sales, and marketing. And I came out of Northwestern with a chemistry degree, but really had a passion for healthcare sales. And someone gave me the advice, hey kid, just go sell anything and then come back to the healthcare industry because the economy was a little bit down. And my first job was working for a wholesale importer in Evanston, Illinois, progressed to healthcare sales with another company, and then took 3 days off from my telesales job to have 5 different interviews with pharma companies and landed with Bristol Myers Squibb.
Wow.
And from there, with BMS, I went back and forth between marketing and development roles. I was with Baxter, got my MBA at Kellogg while still working full time. And then I landed a leadership role at Merck, so managing people. And that was really pivotal in my transitional leadership. You and I met at Abbott, and I had a very unconventional career at Abbott in that I was in 3 different healthcare divisions of Abbott. And now I have on the journey, my nonprofit journey.
Wow. So, I mean, 3 major companies, Bristol Myers Squibb, Merck, Abbott, and now the nonprofit world. That's an awesome career. So you had a long corporate career, right? Help our audience understand how flexible you had to be over the years in order to sustain that longevity in corporate America.
Well, you have to have flexibility and a lot of heart. You know, I'm a very curious person. I'm very hopeful and optimistic, which has helped with being flexible and helping me to adapt to different corporate cultures, learn different business models, and overcome obstacles. You know, as a working mom, I balance work and life while traveling 50% of the time internationally. I was in a global development role, and that's where you and I actually partnered together on some programs. And then in my current role, I'm having to be very flexible because I started in January, and 6 weeks later, we're all working remotely. So we really actually had to pivot a lot during COVID. So flexibility is key.
Yeah, and you know, this whole COVID thing has really turned a lot of organizations upside down. And when I say upside down, not necessarily in a negative way, in terms of, you know, some organizations, you know, you had to go into an office, right? No, you can't work from home and da 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 da. Just we have to have in-person meetings and all this type stuff. And now organizations understand that, you know what, we can be just as effective working remotely and doing it via video conference as we can be in person.
Yes, it's been really an amazing transition. I've learned a lot of new technology. But actually, I am actually going to venture out to socially distance and like go on walking meetings with my team. So I'm going to actually go into Chicago, we'll wear a mask, and I'm doing a road trip one-on-one.
Okay, all right. Well, so you're really embracing it and doing some different things. But that's awesome, and that's what it takes, leaders, right? To be creative and have innovative ideas to keep the team engaged and enthused, and to help bring out that creativity in other people as well. So you know. We've kind of talked about the different roles and or the different companies you work for, but let's talk about the different roles that you had in your career. And reason why I kind of like to talk about that is because I think it's important for people to understand that in careers, sometimes you may have to take different roles that have totally different missions, and they help you grow and expand and change yourself. So talk about the different roles you had, like at Bristol Myers Squibb. If you had different roles, I know you had a totally different role at Abbott, but let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, one of the things looking back on my career, one of the common themes is I have always been in an underdog position, you know, the stepchild product, the stepchild geography. One of my first healthcare role was with telesales with Schering-Plough for the first colored contact lens. And then the territory I had were those that the in-person reps didn't want to call on. I had Wyoming, Montana, and Virginia were my territories. And I ended up actually selling more in volume than the in-person sales reps. But it was really important in that I got my basics and fundamentals of sales training with that job. Went on to be a district sales manager, a sales rep with Bristol Myers Squibb, senior marketing manager for IV bags at Baxter. IV bags, that's not the most glamorous medical product ever. And it was actually generic IV bags.
Oh, wow.
Then I was district sales manager for Merck when we were launching 4 or 5 new products every single year. And sales were great. And I managed a team of 12. And I was the director of sales and marketing with ITW in a division that I knew after a year and a half I was going to be downsized, because I helped with actually a merger and an integration. So I knew it was going to be a short-term role. At Abbott, I had 3 great experiences. The first in the pharmaceutical division in managed healthcare marketing, supporting the eastern region of the United States. My favorite job of all time before my current one was business development manager of Latin America and Canada at Abbott. I learned so much. I was able to create a roadmap. It was a newly created role, had a lot of fun. And a lot of fun with you.
Yeah. This is one of those areas where you kept telling me, hey, Cedrick, you need to learn a different language, right? And how important that was. I remember that. I'm still working on that, but okay. I'm still good with French, just because I picked it up growing up in Louisiana. But Spanish, still working on that. This was. It was amazing to hear you talk about why it was important to learn the different languages and how much you enjoyed it in your role when we worked together at Abbott. So that's awesome. Leaders come in all different types of packages with different types of strengths, right? So what strengths do you feel are important to be successful as a leader?
That's a great question, Cedrick. Leaders come in a variety of profiles. And, I found as I've mentored people, many people can't articulate what their strengths are. So, there are 2 assessments I would really recommend, which is the Clifton Strength Finder and the VIA Character Strength Assessments. It really helped me understand and embrace what my top values were and my competencies. So my top strengths and competencies that have helped me be successful are being strategic, being a relator of people, just having a high drive for achievement, and believing in connectedness in the world. And then I was really surprised when I did the values assessment, but it was spot on. My number 1 values is kindness and generosity, creativity, gratitude, and my faith. Wow.
Well, those are very good. Yeah, I'm just writing them down. Kindness, generosity, gratitude, and your faith. Well, I mean, if a leader doesn't have those, it's going to be very hard to be an effective leader. It's going to be very hard to be a great leader, right? So that's awesome. So you said Strength Finder and VIA. What was the VIA? What was it?
Clifton VIA Character Strengths. That one's free. Yeah. The Clifton Strength Finder, it's a probably $20 book on Amazon, and you get a key in the back, and it's very helpful, not only for your strengths, but knowing what you see in others.
Okay.
Recognizing it.
Okay. Awesome. Good leaders ask great questions. And I always love to say that good leaders ask great questions. So what has been some of the best questions either you have asked or someone has asked of you and you went, wow, that's a really great question?
Here are a couple. I've asked managers or mentors, what do I need to do to get better?
Okay.
I frequently ask, what does success look like? Where are we trying to get to? Personally, from a networking standpoint, may I set up time with you to network and get your perspective?
Okay. All right.
How can I help you? Is a nice open-ended question. And now in the midst of COVID, I ask my team, how are you showing up today instead of how are you doing?
Oh, how are you showing up today? I love that question. Instead of, I need to write that, instead of how are you doing? You see, that question really, so when people say, how are you doing? Normally people just say, fine, I'm all right, or something like that. I say, I'm always great when people ask me this. But the how are you showing up today requires some thought. It's going to require more than just a one-word answer. So that's why I really love that question. That's a great question. So to our audience, I want to make sure that you caught all the questions that Amber said. What do I need to do to get better? You have to ask yourself that. What do you need to do to get better? The next one is, what does success look like? So what does success look like to you? And what does success look like to your team? You see, as a leader, you're always teaching, you're always coaching, you're always mentoring, and you always want to help your team think. So these are great questions that you can pose to yourself as well as to your team. Amber, when people ask me how am I doing, I always say I'm always great, and it always brings a smile to their face when I say that. So my question for you is, what makes you smile when you get up in the morning?
What makes me smile, Cedrick, is the fact that God has blessed me to wake up another day to share my gifts and be a blessing to others, and knowing that I'm going to make a difference in someone else's life that day.
Wow. Now that's thoughtful and wanting to make an impact. And that goes back to what I read in the first line in your bio. Amber is passionate about philanthropy, brand building, and delivering return on marketing, right? So, and it says the vision for her career is for having a greater impact on the world. Now that response ties right into your passion, ties right into who you naturally are, and that's awesome. Hey, we briefly talked about the COVID crisis, but for your team, how have they adjusted in this crisis? I mean, I know that they had to work from home, but how have they adjusted in terms of the reality of, some people, I've heard it's been stressful for them to work at home because they don't feel that they can turn it off.
My team has adjusted by, I constantly make sure they are scheduling time off. So that's just really, really important. It almost doesn't make sense to have vacation times. Everybody is working over 40 hours. So I believe in comp time, but really self-care is number one. It really affects how everyone shows up. So it's just really important to make sure I, as a leader, am taking care of myself between what's going on in my personal life and what's going on in the world, making sure I'm there to support my team, to be a servant leader. And I believe this has brought our team closer, and along with my teammates. And we have had to, really count on each other to help each other through this.
Awesome. Well, that's awesome. And, for, with me being in sales so many years, working from home is the norm, right? And But one of the things that I always did as a sales leader is, and it touches on what you said at the very beginning there. You said, hey, it's almost kind of like you really don't need to have vacation time anymore because people have to take care of themselves, or self-care rather. And I used to always tell my team this: look, we all know how many vacation days we have a year, but I'm not counting those. I'm not going to have a spreadsheet where I'm going to be paying attention to how many vacation days you took, because there are going to be times when you're at home in your home office on Saturday. There are going to be times when you're going to be on your home office at midnight, and I'm not going to be up counting those hours. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time counting vacation time. We're all adults here, and I trust that when you need a vacation, you're going to take it. So if you have 18 days, but you took 20 days, is it going to bother me? No, because you know what? There's those Saturdays where you're in your office when you could have been with your family. There are those times at midnight when you're in your office doing things when you could have been with your family or sleep or whatever, right? So it's that balancing act that you have to weigh in. So I like your approach with what you said, because I know that not every leader thinks that way. And it's important that we understand that self-care is extremely important, especially in this time, because it's stressful for some people.
Well, I have actually threatened my team, if you don't take a day off, I will hound them. It's like, I took a day off, and being an example myself. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I had one rep that we called it a Lori Day. Her name was Lori, and I said, look, sometimes you just have to just relax and get away. And I said, just do this. Just send me a text message and said, hey, I need to take a Lori Day today, because she was always, she was poured in. And I knew that she was spending a lot of extra hours, after hours, or on the weekend or whatever. I said, just let me know. Hey, today I need to take me a Lori Day.
I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that, Cedrick.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's important to do those things. So as we kind of transition into things around, I call it sales industry, but it could be any industry. It could be a nonprofit organization. It could be someone in a sales role as well. But give me 2 or 3 things that an individual can do to help themselves get into sales.
Couple of things, and I'd like to actually share a couple of books. So one is networking and talking to people. One of the organizations I found very helpful for me early in my career was the National Sales Network. That was very, very helpful. They have local chapters. Taking classes. In the midst of COVID, it's really easy to do webinars, and then reading books. Do you mind if I share a couple books that I'm reading?
That would be great.
All right. So I chose this book, which is Frederick Douglass, Prophet of Freedom by David Blight, because I was reading a philanthropy book.
So put it up so we can see it in the screen here.
Okay.
All right. Prophet of Freedom.
Yes, Prophet of Freedom, because I was reading in philanthropy that he was one of the greatest philanthropists ever, and it had me intrigued. And I'm always about getting better, but no American of his generation did more than Douglass, both in deeds as well as in his words, to propel our people and our nation toward a reckoning with its original sin of slavery and racism. And I think it's very timely with what's going on now. It's really history repeating itself.
Awesome.
With social injustice. On the entrepreneurial side, it's called The Entrepreneur Mind.
Okay.
100 Essential Beliefs, Characteristics, and Habits of Elite Entrepreneurs by Kevin Johnson. And Kevin pulls together actual life scenarios and outcomes that every entrepreneur needs to understand. And if you want to start a business or improve the business you're in, it's a fantastic resource.
Awesome.
And last but not least, I love this one. It's visionaries are made, not born. Your vision can lead to breakthrough success by Lloyd Shefsky. And Lloyd Shefsky is a former Northwestern Kellogg professor. He's actually on the board of an entrepreneurial venture that I'm a part of, a private equity exchange.
Okay.
That's minority owned, called Next Gen Capital. But in this book, he lays out the elements of becoming a visionary, and he gives examples of 19 visionaries, including Kay Koplitz, who created the USA Network in her 20s, and Fred Smith. When he was a teenage he used to be a teenage crop duster, but he founded Federal Express. So there's some really amazing stories in there. And then, of course, there's the Bible. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Can always use another read of the Bible.
Yes.
Awesome. So one is networking, and you talked about the NSN, and I'm actually on the board of directors for NSN, our National Sales Network, the Houston chapter. And I agree with you. It's a great organization to be a part of, and a great organization to start your professional sales journey, or if you're already in sales, to help build, right? And it's not necessarily just about getting another job. It's about networking with people, like-minded people who help you better understand how to navigate your career that you're currently doing. Or if you're looking for another opportunity, you may meet someone there that can help you in that journey as well. So awesome. Thank you very much for those. And thanks for those, for the books. And we will put those book titles in the comment section so that you can have those and go get those books. So thanks, Amber, for that. So now that a person has landed that job, they became a member of the NSN and they got this amazing sales job. So now that they've landed this high performing sales job, give the audience one or two things that they should do to keep that job.
One would be always be curious and stay on top of what's happening in your industry. So know what your customers care about and what's going on. And then I would say nurture relationships, not only your customers, but manage up to your manager. That's a skill. And always be a good teammate.
Right. Yes. Being a 360-degree leader is important. And, so you're managing your peers, you're managing down, and then you're managing up. It's extremely important in your career. So I love that. Always be curious, nurture relationships, and be a good teammate. Absolutely love those. And we'll put that in the comment section as well so that you can take that and use that. Now, I just want you to know, audience, that Amber has really just quietly dropped a lot of gold nuggets for you, right? So I might have to send you an invoice, all right, for listening in tonight. But she's quietly just dropping gold nuggets for you to help elevate your career. And that's really what we try to do, and bring on leaders who can help you in that way. So what role, actually, you kind of talked about it a little bit, but what role do you think that networking plays in navigating the corporate ladder? So not just externally for you networking with other people, but navigating the corporate ladder.
Well, one thing about I'm a natural networker, but I needed to embrace the fact that I'm an introvert. Introvert doesn't mean that I'm shy. Introvert means how I get my energy. I get my energy with my quiet time, and I store up my energy. And then when I'm giving a presentation or having that meeting, it's draining. So people are draining me as they are speaking. So I need to be on my A game and have my energy up here. Networking is key to climbing the corporate ladder, in that we all hear about office politics. It's not really politics. It's just really understanding the subtleties of what's going on. And without having a mentor to network, or networking with people outside of your functional area, you can kind of put the pieces together and build relationships that are going to not only influence your current position, but your future job opportunities. And that was what led me from the pharmaceutical division of Abbott over to where I met you over in the device division, and then I met Joe Nimmers.
Yes. And talking about awesome person and awesome leaders, Joe Nimmers is the epitome of great leadership.
May I share my story with you about Joe? Just real quickly.
Absolutely, yes. And Joe will probably be listening in, so because he listens in every week. So awesome.
Joe Nimmers, who's the head of the medical division, was giving a speech to the Women's Network. And he was provocative and said that leaders were born, not necessarily created. And he's a military guy. Mm-hmm. And I disagreed with it. And I sent him an email. I sent him an email later. And I told him I disagreed and this is why. And he emailed me back and said, oh, come talk to me. And he asked me why I was not looking for jobs over in his division. And I said, you're called the After Dark division, and you're in a consent decree. I'm in the Prima Donna division with Pharma. He said, we're coming out of the consent decree. There are opportunities over here. You should look. And I just looked online and typed in the internal job search, sales, marketing, Spanish. And there was a newly created role covering Latin America and Canada. I went and interviewed for it and said, can I have some Spanish speaking courses before I take the role? And my manager was born and raised in Mexico. And he said, nope, you'll just do it.
Was that Edgar?
Yes, Edgar Vargas. Yes. So that's my experience with, just being courageous and just saying, no, I disagree with you.
Wow. Well, that's amazing that, it goes to being an extraordinary leader, right? Because not every leader would have said, hey, well, come talk to me about it. Right. They would have maybe, shut you down or not even replied. So that's just Joe and being an outstanding leader. So I'll share this with you as well. So Joe, we were at national sales meeting, and I didn't know who his wife was. I had never met her before, and we were in this restaurant, and we were all a lot of us were sitting outside, and Joe was sitting farther down from where his wife was, and Kyle McGiven and several other Avid folks. We were all sitting there talking. And Joe's first wife, Kathy, started talking about growing up on a farm, and we started talking about this, and we started talking about poverty and the challenges, and she was telling me about this, and I was strongly disagreeing with what she was saying, and I'm just being the young Cedrick, and I'm just strongly disagreeing, and we were debating back and forth. It was a good conversation, but it was lively, and everybody else around me knew that was Joe Nimmers' wife. They're like in the background going, and I'm like, whatever. I'm talking, and then afterwards, Kyle McGiven said, "Hey, it was good knowing you. I just want you to know that was Joe's wife." So for people that don't know, Joe was our vice president at the time. It was interesting, but I've shared that story with him. We've had a good laugh about it as well. But I just believe that Joe is a dynamic leader. And so let me ask you, so you said that he was speaking to the women's council in your division. So one of the things that I didn't have on my list to talk about, but since you mentioned this, I think is a good topic, is diversity, equity, and inclusion is so big in our society right now, right? And I know a lot of organizations have developed different affinity groups. So it sounds like when you're in Abbott, you were in it was a women's affinity group for your division?
Yes, that was the largest one at Abbott.
Okay. All right. So just from a high level perspective, how important is this diversity, equity, and inclusion to businesses, whether you're a for-profit or a nonprofit?
It is absolutely key, and it affects the bottom line. I'm just really blessed to work for an organization that works on the inequities across the Chicago region, across housing, water access, transportation. So I am just really blessed to be able to be working for a policy change organization that will help.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, you know, in these days and times, diversity, equity, and inclusion is extremely important. I think that it helps makes organizations become better global leaders versus just, you know, regional, but better global leaders, because like one leader told me years ago, it says, look, the more we have diverse thoughts and diverse opinions in our organization, the better we're going to be as a company. And he said, I want to be clear on this. When I say diverse, I mean men, women, Black, white, Asian, Bahamian, all kinds of diversity in thought in our organization will help make us a better organization.
Right now, I work in the most diverse organization I've ever worked in that 50% of us are people of color. Wow. Our board is very diverse, not only in terms of race and gender, but in what segment of business that they represent. So they really do help us with our mission. The diversity is key.
Okay. All right. Awesome. So I have a segment that we do every show, and it's called Would You Rather? Right. So would you rather, it's very easy. It's just always fun. Would you rather meet your great grandkids or your great grandparents?
Great grandparents. I would like to go back and meet them, since I didn't have a chance to really understand the family history. I mean, you can do the genealogy, and you can do the pictures, but there's nothing like hearing the rich stories of where you came from.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you as well. Now, I would love to meet my great grandkids. Well, first of all, I have to have grandkids first.
Right.
Which I don't have any. So would you rather no one show up at your wedding or no one show up at your funeral?
At my wedding.
At your wedding? All right, because at your funeral, you're not going to know anyway, right? Okay, all right. So would you rather have world peace or stop world hunger?
World peace, because I'd have a nonprofit that would feed the rest of the world. It would help the distribution chain having the peace. So I have to go with peace first.
All right. So two more. Would you rather be an adult your whole life or be a kid your whole life?
An adult if I could freeze myself at the age of 35.
Okay. An adult with an asterisk.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So last one. Would you rather have $1 million in Amazon gift cards or $100,000 in real money?
Oh, $100,000 in real money.
Okay. All right. See, a lot of people pick that one, but I say give me $1 million in Amazon gift cards, because I shop on Amazon every day anyway. And then I would buy me some gift cards, Visa gift cards, and turn that into cash.
Okay, I just need to invest. So
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Turn it into cash and then invest it. All right. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for playing that segment of Would You Rather?
thank you. I'm gonna steal that from you for for team building.
Yeah, it's actually awesome team building. Go to Pinterest and you can find all kind of would you rather
Okay, I'm gonna write that one down.
Yes. So growth, in order to grow, you have to be intentional, right? So
Mhm.
what do you do for personal and professional growth yourself?
One of the things, especially in the time of COVID, our webinars are very, very helpful. Even if I don't have time on my calendar for that specific webinar, if you just log in, you'll get the link so you can look at it later or get the slides. I'm an avid reader of short sound bites, so I read a lot of industry publications around philanthropy and then Crane Chicago Business. And I just love to read to continue to grow my mindset, my corporate, my nonprofit, and my entrepreneurial mindset.
Awesome. I like all of those. So what advice would you give emerging leaders on finding leadership opportunities and ways to help fill their professional toolbox?
One thing I wish I had done is I'd encourage them to define a vision for their future. Ultimately, what do you want to get to? I was very fortunate in that, I kind of fell into promotions, got lucky, networking, I had a lot of great skills, but I wasn't very intentional. So had I had that vision, that would have been helpful. Also reaching out to others who have traveled the path that you envision yourself going, and always be learning.
I love that.
One more. LinkedIn,
Okay.
especially during COVID, it's an awesome tool. And you should always be intentionally growing your LinkedIn network in the areas that you envision your future, because you can learn a lot of things from folks on LinkedIn, and there are certain people that you can tag and follow that will inspire you.
Absolutely. And one of the things I'm going to add to what Amber said at the very beginning, she said that define a vision for your future. And she said, but she had been very lucky. Let me tell you what, there was no luck involved in Amber's rise and success in a market. It was intentional. So I believe there's Ralph Waldo Emerson says this. He says, shallow people believe in luck. Wise and strong people believe in cause and effect. And trust me, Amber caused a lot of great things to happen in her career. So what I don't want you to take away from here is that, hey, Amber just kind of was lucky in what happened to her. No. She was very intentional about what happened in her career. So that's what I want to make sure you take away. This is how she can drop all of these golden nuggets for you. And this is how she's risen to travel different Fortune 500 healthcare companies, and now to lead a nonprofit organization. Just nobody ever fell on top of the mountain, folks. Is really my point. So thanks, Amber, for dropping those nuggets. But I wanted to add that in there so people didn't get confused that you were.
Okay. Thank you for setting me straight, Cedrick.
So do you have a mentor? And if yes, how has that mentor impacted your professional journey?
Well, yes, I have a mentor. I have many mentors, and I actually call my mentors my personal board of advisors.
I like that.
So I ask people to join my board.
I like that.
And specifically, I'm going to give a shout out to 3 prominent Black female philanthropy leaders who have mentored me, who helped me with the transition over to nonprofit leadership, Judy Lindsay, Brenda Asari, and Dory McWhorter. So they are very prominent philanthropy leaders here in Chicago. They took me under their wing, opened up their Rolodex. If those on your show remember what Rolodex is, they said, here, you don't need to get a nonprofit certificate. You just need to read these 7 books and go to industry events. And so that was pivotal in my 2-year journey while still working on the corporate side to transition over to nonprofit.
Awesome. So then it's kind of like, I don't really need to ask my next question because you kind of really answered it. And that question was the value of a mentor can play in your career. And you just kind of said how big of a role these 3 ladies played in helping you advance your career.
Yeah. So I would say the value of a mentor is being a sounding board, helping you pivot, being brutally honest about your strengths and your opportunities, help you avoid the mistakes that they made, making introductions, and they can be your best cheerleader and help you celebrate success.
Awesome. I like that, being your cheerleader. But I really love personal board of advisors. I'm gonna take that one.
Okay, you may.
I'm about to use that. I really like that. So, you've had a lot of success in your career and in things that you've done in life. But what about failures? We've all had something that we failed at one time or another. Tell us about that one failure you've had and the lesson you learned from it.
Well, it was kind of a series of what I thought at the time were failures. And it actually was God directing me on my journey. So not getting the job that I felt, was mine. When you end up being, it's down to the last 2. And that can sometimes feel like failure. But now looking back on what I perceive to be failures, it's like, oh, God was looking out for me. I'm so glad I didn't get that job. It was not for me. So that would be, I kind of turn my perspective around on that.
Okay. All right. Awesome. So what tidbit of wisdom can you leave our audience with that can help them in their personal life or in their professional life?
Be kind. Think of the other person that's standing behind you, that's wearing that mask when you're out and about. Everybody is going through something. You can be that person who inspires them to do better and feel better that day. And it's not just who you know, it's strangers, those that you meet every day.
Yeah, I love what you said that, hey, think of the other person and everybody's going through something. And you just never really know, right? Because we put on mask, right? And you never really know. And a lot of people know this story, but you may not. But well, I know my children, but my daughter was an exceptional athlete, and on the outside, she looked like she was doing perfectly fine. In fact, to us, she looked like she was doing perfectly fine. Her college career went well. She played professionally for a couple of years. Then she was coaching at the college level. But inside, she wasn't doing well at all. And one day, Amber, I got this call, and it was another college coach at the same school that she was coaching at. And they said, hey, Mr. LaFleur, I just want to let you know that TK is in a hospital. She tried to commit suicide. You see, it just it shattered me. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I was like, well, I knew the life that she lived. And here's what the first thing I said was, what does she have to be upset about? But you just never know what is on the inside of someone else and what they're dealing with. And here's what she said once we got her home and got her some professional help and all this type of stuff. She said, Dad, since I was 7 years old, basketball has been my life. She goes, and it's over. I feel like empty inside. I don't know what to do. I said, but you're coaching at the college level. She goes, yeah, but that doesn't do it. It's not the same. You see, I couldn't relate to that. I couldn't see that because, well, one, I wasn't a high profile athlete. Wait a minute now. I played high school football for 1 year.
Okay.
I wasn't the starting wide receiver. I wasn't even the backup wide receiver. I might have been like the third or fourth string wide receiver. I wasn't third. I was probably fourth. Right? They called me when the game was like 50-0 and they had 10 seconds left. Oh, Cedrick, come get in. Right? So I didn't have the same perspective, is my point, that she had. And you just never know what that outward appearance is doing on the inside. So I love what you said. Think of the other person, and everybody's going through something. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us. So how can our listeners learn more about you or stay in contact with you?
I welcome invitations on LinkedIn. That's I'm most active on LinkedIn. I will accept connections. I'm an open networker. And then if there's anyone out there who would like to learn more about the mission and the journey that I'm currently on, and I'm very passionate about, the Metropolitan Planning Council, they can reach out to the metroplanning.org website.
Awesome. And the link is going to cross the screen for you if you want to help with that mission, join in with the mission, donate to the mission, any of those things. The link is going across the screen for you to do that. So we know that the journey to becoming an entrepreneur, and when I say an entrepreneur, it's not necessarily that. Well, actually, a nonprofit starts as some entrepreneur, some person has this vision. So it's an entrepreneur type vision. It's never an easy one. So what are two or three pieces of advice that people should consider when they decide that they want to become an entrepreneur? Well,
one is buckle up. So one would be spend the majority of your time with people smarter than you are. I love the people I work with are a lot smarter than I am at my nonprofit. And if I can just learn 10% of what's in their brain, that's just awesome. When you're an entrepreneur, accept the truth that you're in sales, whether you want to be or not.
Say that again, please.
Accept the fact that you're in sales, whether you want to be or not. Mm-hmm. And then the last one would be being successful is not the goal of being an entrepreneur. It's solving problems and bringing value to customers. And that's how you can make the world a better place.
Awesome. I absolutely love that. So my last question for you is, if there was a book that was written about you, what would the title be, and what would be said on the back of the book in the summary?
It would be based on what my team knows me for, and the title would be 3 words with an exclamation mark: ring the bell. Ring the bell.
Ring the bell.
And on the back cover, it would say, Amber inspires everyone to ring the bell, celebrate wins every day, and bring their very best selves to the table. But also on the back cover, James 1:2 would be on there. Consider it pure joy, my brothers, whenever you face trials of many kinds.
Wow. Okay. I like it. I love it. Want some more of it. That is awesome. I can tell you what, this time has just like flown by. It's amazing that we've been chit-chatting here for an hour. And I want to tell you what, first of all, thank you very much for coming on the show. And I'm excited for what you're doing. And I'm excited that we kind of reconnected here on LinkedIn. So thank you.
No, thank you, Cedrick. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, hey, I have a personal question that I ask audience. I mean, I ask guests sometimes, and feel free to answer it or not.
Okay.
So you're at home. Nobody's home. This is you and the TV and the four walls of your house. What's your favorite dessert that you say, I got to have this dessert?
Okay. Okay, here we go. So I recently have been on a health journey, doing more gluten-free and more dairy-free.
Okay.
Trader Joe's has this chocolate frozen dessert that tastes as good as Chunky Monkey. It's dairy-free. It is gluten-free. You slice some bananas on top of that, and you add some walnuts, and that is my Chunky Monkey with no gluten, no gluten and no dairy in it.
Okay, all right. See, I know everybody has that one thing that they say, this is it. That's awesome. Trader Joe's. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, I totally appreciate, again, you coming on the show. Thank you very much. So audience, that we also have a show on Tuesday night, and it's going to be at 5:30 Central Time, another version of Talk Leadership with Cedrick. So tune in to that, because we have a dynamic leader that's going to be on the show. Trust me, you don't want to miss that show. And then at 6:30 Central Time, what I want you to do is, every week I want you to go right on over to the Empowered Living Network. And this is where the Black Entrepreneur Institute live show will be happening. And we always have a great time with my fellow co-founders on that show. So tune in to us on the Black Entrepreneurs live show at 6:30 Central Time on Empowered Living Network. Then don't leave yet. Come right back over here to Facebook at 7:30 and tune in to Talk with TK, where she's going to be talking through her Mindset 180 Academy. And she always have dynamic athletes and guests on the show to up-level your mental performance, right? Thursday, remember, 2 p.m. Central Time, join me for Talk Leadership with Cedrick on the radio at ibgr.network. I always look forward to having you there. Join us there. And always remember, if you're not at the table, you're on the